Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
All right, what's up, guys? It is August 1st. We are here for Sports Tonight. Lee Smith here with a new addition to the team, Connor Hines.
Hello.
Who joins us from Macon.
That's right. Last 3 years in Macon.
Last 3 years, all right. Well, I decided to go with throw a curveball, too. I've got my man stash right here. Not a mustache, man stash.
Already taking grief for that.
I know. A lot of people.
In the workplace.
I think it looks all right.
Team mustache, man.
It's hard to do mustache, and it can certainly go wrong pretty fast.
That's right.
But I think it's okay. I think it's all right.
I like it.
Got to work out a little bit of time, and then everyone get used to it. It'll be all right. But let's get into some sports today. So we've got a ton of stuff going on this Thursday. UGA starts fall camp. And the big news coming out was that senior wide receiver Ra Thomas was kicked off the team by Kirby Smart.
Yeah, I mean, not the way you want to start camp, but not unexpected at this point. And I think, good on Kirby to come out and kind of get it out of the way first day of camp, Lee, because, with so many reckless driving charges and the long history really now of this UGA football program, really ever since the first tragic accident. I mean, not to say that Ra-Ra's only issue was the driving, but I mean, good on Kirby to come out and get it out of the way.
Well, he had the family violence charges, multiple family violence charges.
Correct.
From last week, and
Right.
then last season, before he ever actually got on the field, he had an incident, false imprisonment.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what the other charges were, but it was serious stuff.
Yeah.
Now those eventually got dropped. So, but now, these recent charges come back. It's just a lot to have to deal with. And honestly, at Georgia's level, you don't really need
Right.
that trouble in your program.
No, you don't. And
You
I
got
think
plenty of real places.
I think that's been one of the main criticisms of this UGA program, that Kirby and the program has maybe not come out hard enough on these players. Is the message actually getting through to these guys? And I think that's been a question asked of this program. So no questions asked with this one today. Ra is gone, and now UGA is just going to have to move forward.
So actually, let's go ahead and get to some sound of Kirby Smart earlier today in his press conference.
I'll open with some roster and injury updates. On Ra, had a chance to sit down and meet with him face-to-face Tuesday, which I think was really important, and let him know that he can no longer be a part of the football team. And he understands that, and we wish him nothing but the best moving forward. In terms of injuries and things we have coming into camp, I think I've got a note here from Ron. We've got some guys that are banged up from the summer and just different injuries. Warren Brinson's dealing with an Achilles tendon, so he'll be in and out. It's an opposite one he had in spring, but it's not long. We injected it, and he should be back shortly. Marcus Harrison's dealing with a stress reaction on his foot, should be back shortly. Jordan Hall has a tibia stress fracture that we ended up having to do surgery on. We expect a full recovery. He'll be back hopefully by the first game, but he will be close. Ty Ingram is coming back from an injury that he's dealt with. He's not 100%, but he's close. Smile is able to do some stuff, not everything. But he's almost back. And then Chris Peel had a labral repair at the end of spring, so he'll be limited a little bit. Branson will start practice without limitations, but we will have some load management with him. And then Cole Spears dealing with a little bit of midfoot sprain. But you guys will see most of those guys that I named involved in some way in practice. Some are just completely out. But others aren't. So we're able to bring 120 into camp. I'm fired up about that. That's good numbers for us. As you know, in the future, it won't be that. So we've got good depth in camp, and we're looking forward to creating some mental and physical adversity through the heat and through practices that we can kind of start to form our team. So with that, I'll open it up to you guys.
Yeah, Coach, what's something going into camp that you don't necessarily know for a fact about your team that you're hoping to have an answer about prior to the first game?
That last statement, what's our response going to be to the mental and physical adversity they face? I don't know that in spring practice you can simulate that. We try to simulate it in the summer conditioning program, but it's not the same as having all these pads on, helmets on, equipment on, and I can't simulate the heat they're going to have with that equipment on. So I don't know how this team's going to respond to when stuff gets hard and stuff gets tough and guys start complaining to each other and they're not running and they're not getting to the ball and practice is tiring. But that's what camp is. Our introduction last night was very deep into why do you have a training camp? What is the purpose of a training camp? It's to build the toughness within our team.
Out of all those, Kirby, I think Branson Robinson news is probably the most surprising, I guess I would put it. But can you put in context the fact that he's able to go without limitations seems very encouraging about him being able to contribute not only this season but early in the season?
Well, I don't know what the number of months is. It seems like it's almost a year because it happened preseason last year. So I think it's not a shock to me that he's able to start and go without limitations. But the load management is critical because you can't take someone who hasn't done everything and just throw them into everything. So we have to be smart about that. But it's certainly promising because I thought going into I forget what practice it was. He got injured last year, but he was having a really good camp. He looked really good, and I remember thinking, golly, this guy was getting ready to, have a great season, great camp, and then he has to go back, and you forget the blitz pickups. You forget all the things that he missed out on that he didn't get a chance to do that he'll be doing now, and I know he's looking forward to it. We're excited to get him out there.
Kirby, with the NCAA allowing support staffers to coach on the field, games and practices, what does that mean in terms of how does it look for you guys out there, this August?
Well, we'll use more coaches now and have the ability to maybe move some coaches around in terms of if you've got one drill going on, you've got another person that's allowable coach that maybe has really good experience coaching or knows our system to be an extra set of eyes, ears, and coach guys. So we're excited about that. I'm excited. Some of the special teams periods, we're going to be able to take kids that aren't in special teams where we had a lot of our coaching dedicated to special teams. We have people on the outside now that may be able to do special teams and free our coaches up to give a little time to guys that aren't in, like skill development. A guy can go over there and work on things he needs to work on and not lose time. So it's helpful organizationally to do that.
Your team has already been picked first in SEC Media Days, and there's an expectation you will be very high, if not at the very top in preseason rankings. This is not necessarily new for your team the last few years. Does that familiarity help you and your players deal with the expectations that come with these picks?
Yeah, I don't feel like we're familiar with it because we just don't pay attention to it. You guys are probably more familiar with it than we are in terms of well, that's the expectation. They're going to start the season top 5, or they're going to be predicted to win the East or West when it was there, or they're going to be predicted to win the SEC. I've never honestly paid any attention to it, and we don't talk about it as a team. So, the expectation is we're going to develop and worry about today's day and not really – we don't think about that.
Coach, over the summer, were you able to identify any team leaders, and do you still operate with a leadership council? And if so, how does that made up?
Yeah, we identify with team leaders, and we have groups within our team that are leadership. And I don't divulge what I do individually with players or with a group, but that's something that we've always employed. And we can't develop leadership at the top if you don't start with kids when they enter. And that's part of our school session process. That's part of our leadership training we do and where we take guys in the summer. And we've definitely started that. And that's very important. And we think it's a key to our success, which is mindset over muscle.
Kirby, obviously Rara was one of the veterans in that receiver room. What do you make of this receiver group now that Rara is no longer a part of it?
Well, we've got a lot of guys that are pass catchers back. We've got a lot of guys that have played with Dylan Bell, Arian, Colby for another team's played. Dom's been very successful and got a lot of catches. So, we have depth at the top. I think we've got to find more guys that can contribute in that room. Maybe they haven't had their opportunity. Maybe they're talented and pick things up quickly. We have several guys that came in from the portal with Mike Jackson and London. So I'm looking forward to see the opportunity that each one gets to grow and get better, and it really starts today. But I'm fired up about that group because we got a good group of protectors around them, a good quarterback to get them the ball, and a good group of tight ends.
Kirby, we're still waiting on a tiebreaker for the SEC who goes to the championship. How much input did coaches have on that?
Zero that I'm aware of. I mean, it's not something that we've talked about or concerned ourselves with. It gets so deep and so far that I think the Big 12 kind of has had that come up, and people have learned from the way they made their tiebreakers, and very little does it get past the first 3 or 4 tiebreakers.
Yeah, Kirby, with the defensive line, it seemed like you mentioned several defensive linemen that are dealing with injuries and stuff. Just one, what is the state of that group as you head into camp? And two, how do you work to, I guess, continue getting more out of guys like Nazir, like Warren, who have been here for so long, it seems like?
Well, they have been here a long time. I'm pleased with where they are in terms of Warren's dealing with a little nagging injury that he's dealt with, and he'll push through that. Nas has been great. We got to get the young guys ready to play. You never have enough defensive linemen, so just from the jump street, we got some big bodies in that room, but we got some inexperienced big bodies. So it's really important that we establish depth, that we're looking at a potentially longer season. And we have, I want to say it's 4 or maybe 5 new guys, meaning first year with us, because that includes a portal transfer and 4 high school guys that are 300 pounds or greater that haven't played a snap for us. And they will provide our depth in that room. That when guys get injured at that position, they got to be able to step in and play. And that's an area that we got to continue to develop and grow. I mean, everybody does. Nobody has enough of them.
Hi, Coach. When looking at all the young DBs on this roster, what's the biggest adjustment they need to make in order to be successful at this level?
Well, work ethic, experience, confidence, practice habits. There's a lot of things that go into being able to compete at this level, and some of them already have competed at this level just as a 2 or a 3 in practice. And we put more value in that because maybe you're going against a better guy at Georgia in practice all spring than you may get a chance to go against in the season. So I think they establish confidence in that, and they know and trust that their training is going to carry them.
All right, so now here in Atlanta, GSU's got practice starting today for fall camp, and there's a new man at the helm. Sean Elliott is out. Seems like he was there forever and basically the staple of Georgia State's football program.
Truly.
So he's on to South Carolina, and now who do they replace him with? None other than Del McGee from just up the road in Athens.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of similarities, between UGA and Georgia State, just in terms of the fan crossover, right? I think a lot of Georgia State fans probably at least pay attention to UGA football, so that's exciting to have Del McGee in the mix, and McGee is going to bring that same, expectation, being a member of the Kirby Smart coaching tree and everything that he was able to do at UGA with the national championship. So new expectations for Georgia State, but an exciting time for sure.
Of course, they're coming off a 45-22 win in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
That's right.
The Potato Bowl.
French fries.
So they got that going for them. They got a little bit of momentum. New coach, ton of new players. They have. It feels like the roster is like basically half of what they had returning last year.
Right.
So they've got a quarterback battle. Darren Granger's gone, so he'd been there for I think 6 years. So they got to find a new quarterback. They got a new coach. Everything's pretty much new for them. But a couple of players today did tell us in the press conference that they were happy that with the pace of practice and I guess just the level of knowledge between the new coaches. Hugh Jackson is actually coaching over there now. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's some NFL experience right there.
Yeah.
So it seems like Dell's got it rolling over in downtown Atlanta, and here he is talking about fall camp so far.
Always first day is always an enthused time. Kids came out with a lot of energy, juice. Very excited. Still got a lot of work to do, but I was very pleased with our guys' pushing through the elements. It was quite humid this morning, and really the guys and the leadership showed up where it needed to be, but we still got a long way to go. With that, I'll open up for questions. No questions? We're good.
Now, how did it feel we've talked so much, you've had media days and all these different press conferences, but now you're finally on the field with the guys. How did it feel first day?
It was great. Like I said, that's the main part of camp is to kind of get some continuity, get some bonding and connection, find out who's going to push through the elements, who's going to become a leader and be that vocal piece on both sides of the ball that you need. Our coaches getting on the same page with one another. Just the transitions and intensity and the attention to detail that's required for us to be successful, I thought was a good first day. We still got a long way to go from that standpoint, but we kind of slacked off as practice went on. I think the break helped us to regain our focus, and like I say, I appreciate the kids for finishing through those elements.
What's your message to your team about this time of year? What's kind of the start of camp, start of practice message?
Yeah, our theme this camp has been habits, creating great habits, on and off the football field, being on time, making sure we develop mental and physical toughness, and connecting as an entire organization. So those were the three bullet points for our goals to get through camp. If we can connect and grow closer together, if we can learn the habits of how to be a pro, how to do a walkthrough, how important it is in film study to pay attention, to not fall asleep, and just get every single detail that we can from every unit, then we're going to move in the right direction.
Just like anywhere, you have to hit the ground running, but I feel like you had to do that more so than a lot of people, and it was a fast start for you. How do you feel like it's gone since that point?
It's going fine. It takes what it takes. We don't create any excuses. I think our coaches did an outstanding job from spring to transition into summer to acquiring new players, and now we got a new team, and now we got to get this team ready to play on August 31st. But we're trying to keep the main thing, and that's just each day. So the rest of the day we got meetings and walkthroughs, got to make sure we're locked in there, and then we'll transition in tomorrow.
You mentioned it a little bit. The coaches have gone out, done the work, gotten some players to come here. So these transfer players, you have a lot on the roster. How can that be beneficial for you this fall?
It's beneficial because we brought in competition. I feel like we got competition at every single position. We really don't have a quote-unquote depth chart. We call it a rep chart. We're going to try to provide reps for the entire team so we can develop, evaluate, and then identify who's going to win those starting jobs. And it all starts with how you do everything. Are you making mistakes? Do you play clean football? Do you make the checks? Can you secure the football? Who can we trust with the ball? And then it's up to the coaches to evaluate what has processed and then put our players in the best situation and provide the players touches that warrant those touches by what they do on the field.
You mentioned getting the team ready for August 31st. What does it do for your team to start with, such a well-known program that's right up the road?
Oh, it's great for our program. Coach Key's done a tremendous job there. Got much respect for him. He kind of comes out of the same Saban, Coach Smart tree, so I understand they're going to work just like we are, and we're just really going to focus on today and make sure we keep the main thing the main thing.
Coach, how much, so much has been gone into gathering the team that you see and the recruiting. How much do you look forward to just getting down to the X's and O's?
I feel like the X's and O's will take care of itself with time. We're still in a install mode, so there's a lot being thrown at our kids, so they're going to make mistakes because we're going to throw a lot at them and challenge them in that way because we're preparing to see multiple things. So we got to prepare our defense for certain things, and our defense has to prepare our offense for certain things. So it's a team approach. My main thing with the new team is making sure we get connected, know one another, know each other's whys, so we can build upon that and make sure we're playing for our brother, know why we're playing for our brother.
You have a pretty crowded quarterback room. I think you're 5 on the roster. What does a player have to do or what are you looking for in that starter to earn that position to be the starter heading into that contest? What are some things that are going to have to show you?
Yeah, definitely making the correct reads in the passing game, checking to the correct run in the run game. Then how do you lead the offense? How do you respond to adverse times? Because that's all, as we all know, that's one of the toughest positions in football. Just looking for how they respond, how they lead, who can grow and minimize mistakes and play clean football. At the end of the day, we got enough players. We'll kind of wind things down and tie things up when necessary, but right now we want to challenge their minds, and eventually we'll get to just some basics and kind of evaluate who's going to put us in that best situation to lead this football team. And it may be more than one quarterback. I don't know that. So it's a evaluation process every single day. We look at every single rep, and I like to see that our quarterbacks have taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, with meeting extra, and you see them in the building just as much as coaches. So I am encouraged by seeing that.
I'll say, has any one or two of them stood out so far?
I wouldn't say nobody stood out. They're all working really hard and trying to grasp the offense, and it's going to be a day-to-day. It's going to be a day-to-day evaluation tool, and you can't get too high, can't get too low. You just got to find the quarterback or quarterbacks that's going to be consistent.
You could hear Coach Chaney's voice from the parking lot this morning. What does it mean for you to have? What does it mean for you and this team to have someone like him on this staff with so much experience like that?
I think him, Coach Jackson, provide a wealth of knowledge, experience. They know exactly what championship football looks like. They know what it sounds like, and when things aren't done correctly, that's what Chaney's job is. And we want to get it more contagious with some of our other coaches. And I think with him taking the lead with that, the way we split practice, it allows our other coaches to kind of have their voice too. But I'm very appreciative of Coach Chaney, and I know he's going to do a fine job.
You've been a part of a lot of fall practices at different places. Things could be taken with a grain of salt, but what for you and this staff constitutes a successful fall camp?
Just like I said, we're going to grow and connect as a team, make sure the entire organization knows each other's whys, make sure we develop those habits of being on time, being punctual, how to do a walkthrough, take notes in meetings, how to watch film, and then ultimately, how do we develop mental and physical toughness? So if we can check the box on all three of those things that we started the theme out for last night in our team meeting, then it'll be a successful camp.
Whereas quarterback, only one can be on the field at a time in a game. Usually, there's a lot of running backs, quality depth in running back room, and those guys might all get to see the field in some form. But it's like the depth there and the competition there that they could all end up playing a role in the fall.
Oh, yes, sir. I do like the running back room. It's definitely improved, and it's really good competition there. I don't think we lose a whole lot when one running back goes out and another one comes in. It's just learning and growing the offense, learning the details. Then we got to find some continuity up front. We work a lot of different groups, so we're not really worried about the continuity so much right now. We're just really trying to get evaluation and reps and allow these guys to play football and talk and push through the heat and just develop our mental and physical toughness through these elements.
One of the mottos of camp has been get 1% better every day. I know when it comes to something like that, it may be a little hard, but could you define what you mean by that as a coach, getting 1% better every single day?
Yeah, so if I made whatever mistake I made the previous day, if I can correct that one mistake, that's at least 1% better, because there are going to be some recall plays, situations. If I can not make that same mistake, if I made one the prior day, then you got 1% better.
Made some additions on the defensive side that are not new to football, but new to Georgia State. But do you think having a fair amount of seniors coming in from the transfer portal, you're not starting from ground zero necessarily, you got a lot of guys that play a lot of football.
Yeah, that's going to be up to Coach Scherer to kind of get everyone on the same page, get in a routine, establishing our practice habits, calls, and it goes back to the same thing. How do we watch film? How do we maximize our walkthroughs? Just learn the details, checks with the evolving offenses and what we're going to see in our schedule. Our defense has to be able to adapt and communicate, and just taking those fundamental baby steps in that process. Coach Scherer has a plan with that, and just really eager to see how they grow. And it's the same thing, like finding the 11 that's going to start and find those other 11 role players and then finding those guys roll through camp.
Just talking about Coach Jackson, just the short time he's been here already, just the influence he's had on you, kind of how to learn how to delegate things for the first time.
Yeah, Coach Jackson has been a voice. I definitely ask him things. He definitely gives me feedback when needed. Like I said, I'm very grateful to have him. He actually did a presentation yesterday about 2-minute offense. Coming from the NFL, we're going to have the new 2-minute warning. So we had about an hour seminar kind of on philosophical thoughts and moving forward, how can we get better for those situations.
All right, so we've been in Athens, we've been in Atlanta. Let's go to Flowery Branch. Flowery Branch, where the Falcons are still doing their training camp. Still got a whole lot of news. Seems like something's, coming a new angle every day, defense, offense, who's winning, Kirk, you got all the stuff going on. So you've been out there lately, you were out there. So what's the biggest takeaway from, this week?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we are kind of the primary go-between between the team and the fans because there are no fans in Flowery Branch.
Yep.
And, the first open practice for the Falcons at Second-Year High School, a lot of positive takeaways and the first chance for fans to see that. I think the difference between the second-year practice and tomorrow night at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is going to be the second open practice and final open practice for the Falcons, is Kyle Pitts. Everybody's talking about Kyle Pitts and how good of a camp he's had. Maybe the best yet as an Atlanta Falcon since coming into the NFL. So I think that's really exciting to see the way that Kirk Cousins develops that relationship with him and the other guys out there as well. Just a lot of positive vibes at training camp right now, and another chance to see that for the public tomorrow at the Benz.
So positive vibes for the Falcons, and now we go to the Braves. They got some also positive vibes a little bit after the trade deadline.
Indeed.
A lot of people were thinking the Braves would have made a bigger splash, but they get back Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson, which many Braves fans are already familiar with. Obviously, 2021, Jorge Soler, the most just absolute monstrous shot in a World Series that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And we were actually there in person, and it was just, that place went like dead silent.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. But he's back with the team. They're trying to add a little bit of depth in the outfield for him. He actually hasn't played in the outfield this year. He's just been the DH, so we'll see how that goes. But Alex Anthopoulos trying to do something. Didn't necessarily have the cap. Didn't have the right numbers, but the team won 2 out of 3. Wait, in Milwaukee, right? 2 out of 3. Yeah, and now they've got Miami tonight.
Yep. First
for 4 game
Marlins.
Yep, 4 game set with Marlins. So they're getting to that point where it's like point of no return.
Yeah.
Either do or die.
No doubt. And I think, a lot of Braves fans are accustomed to this team really, back to the 90s, making big moves at the MLB trade deadline and watching those moves go on to pay off big time. This was not one of those years, just one really significant move to talk about. But when you look at how many guys are on the injured list right now and how much those guys are getting paid, it's easy to see why Alex Anthopoulos was a little more reserved this MLB trade deadline. But we'll see how Soler fits in either the DH or outfield role, because we know he can play both. We're still gonna wait and see how that all shakes out.
So last night was a good sign for the Braves. Matt Olson and Austin Riley went back-to-back bombs.
That's right. Yeah.
And they finally started. It looks like they're finally starting to click a little bit offensively. They just need a little bit of pitching.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Now everyone's hurt, so they got to get those back. But it is what it is. All right, so moving on. So all right, we got a little bit of time left. What's on your mind?
I think you got to talk about, what this second half Braves team is going to look like first and foremost, because to your point, I mean, injuries, they've been bit by the injury bug, more than I can remember any other Braves team.
Anyone else in the entire league?
Yeah, certainly this year. And even Brian Snicker is just, baffled by what's happening.
Yeah.
with them. And at some point, you just got to laugh and be like, when does this team catch a break? So still waiting for that break to come.
It
but,
might not come. We don't know. It might. It might.
Yeah, you don't know.
So what's on my mind? Katie Ledecky. Absolutely torching the field in the Olympics. It just seems like she's on a tear. I have been watching the Olympics so much last couple of days, so much, badminton, archery. I mean, track. They just
all of it.
Yes, sign me up. But yeah, so with that's your sports tonight for August 1st. Thank you. Have a good day.